Mix it up there.
Keeping it fresh.
Hello!
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to another Vertigo Voices. With that stupid fucking theme song.
He's Colby. I'm Sophia.
That's right. I'm Colby. Yeah, so we're back. Back for another thrilling episode about Sweet Tooth.
Because, we give the people what they want, and we had a lot more to say.
Sweet Tooth is, it's popular. It's fun. It's fun end of the world story.
Right? Sometimes you need one of those. Yeah.
Before we get to anything, last time I mentioned that I had some comments to talk about, which won't take long, but we got a couple of comments on Twitter. So, let's see, the first one was from Mumbi.
Okay.
I guess.
Why not?
Mumbi X. I don't know. That at Mumbi X. Mumbix. Alright, he just commented, love the work you guys are doing. With a little picture of Jason Manzanukis. Jason. Fuck, how do you pronounce his name? Jason Manzanukis.
Manzanukis.
I said that first. God damn it. Stop,
You were right.
second guessing yourself, Colby. Anyway, Jason Manzanukis, high five. So I responded with a Flash Superman high five. Too slow.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, so anyway, there's one listener.
We appreciate that.
And then, where is he? Somebody else commented. Peter Melnick said, if you're looking for someone to talk Preacher or Ennis-era Hellblazer, holla at your boy. Like, I would totally holla at ya, but that's kind of my wheelhouse. So, can't have somebody smarter than me on the show, buddy.
Hey, no.
Oh, look at that. There's Abel's trailer on Sandman.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Looks like a good trailer.
On set, yeah. So, Sandman is still filming.
It is. It's coming. Something to look forward to in
Did
these
you
dark
notice?
times.
I think I mentioned this last time, just offhand, but if you look up Sandman on Netflix, it officially lists the start date as, or the premiere date as 2022.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So sometime next year. Really thought it was going to be this year, the end of this year, but guess not.
Well, again, something to keep us on the line.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Sweet Tooth for now. We've got Why the Last Man coming.
That's right.
So hopefully there'll be enough to scratch the itch until Sandman gets here. And then there's one more season of Lucifer, I think. Is there season 6? I don't know when that's in production. I just remember it was a big deal when it was renewed for the 6th one because it was supposed to end at 5. And Netflix, pleaded with all the cast, please come back for one more. And it was a big contract negotiation issue with Tom Ellis to get him back. And I'm sure they're paying out the nose for that. Because when you've got a streaming giant in that situation, basically saying, please come back, we'll do anything. You can literally ask for anything.
Right.
And they can pay it. So I'm sure he's making a fat fucking payday after that.
Get that Netflix money, sir. Yeah.
Speaking of Lucifer, I have officially finished the Fox series.
Oh, yes.
I watched the last episode just the other day. The last episode is the one that's narrated by Neil Gaiman as God. And it's a weird episode that is completely self-contained. It's like Gaiman saying, what if this had happened instead of that? So it's a different timeline.
Okay.
And it's, I don't know, overall it's a fine episode, whatever. It's nothing too special. But Mazikeen actually looks like Mazikeen in it.
Yay! Fancy that.
I thought it was weird that they went, just for that one episode. Where is it? She's got the mask and everything. I was trying to find a good picture of it. Mazikeen mask, maybe?
Maybe?
Oh, you bitches. That's not what I want. There, yeah, see?
Aha!
She wears, the cloak and everything. There's a good picture of her.
Oh, she actually is reminiscent of the comic.
Yeah. And so, anyway, that was... it worked for the episode. I wish we could have seen more of that.
Me too, my friend.
And it was just fun to hear Gaiman narrate it.
I would like to watch that episode just because he narrates it. And
He's a really good narrator. I've listened to a lot of his books on tape. The ones that he narrates or has roles in, he's really good.
He is. He's a very good storyteller on the page and out loud. My friend Melissa did say that I should watch the episode, and it's probably the same one where Lucifer and Linda have dinner with God.
That's probably in the new season.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Because God's not actually in this episode, he's just narrating it. I saw that God is actually in the new season. I think he's played by Dennis Haysbert, maybe?
Oh,
Am I just making that up?
Maybe. You would know better than I, again.
God. He is played by Neil Gaiman, voice only. And yeah, it is Dennis Haysbert.
Oh, hello.
He's like, Allstate is on your side. I'm God. Was that the commercials he was in?
It was, yeah.
Is it Allstate?
Either Allstate or Farmers.
I don't think it was Farmers. Dennis Haysbert. Commercial?
Yeah.
Allstate commercial. There it is.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, good for you, God.
Getting that Allstate paycheck. And Dennis Haysbert is a good actor, too.
I was about to make some, like, God damn it joke about Allstate. And I don't know. It wasn't forming in my mind. But I got sidetracked mentally because a couple episodes ago I talked about my daughter and how she, like, doesn't like swearing.
That's right.
And she was telling me the other day that she has created a new substitute, which is, she says, gosh, beaver home it.
Gosh, beaver home it?
Yeah. And I was like, what? I thought she was saying helmet. And she was explaining, she's like, no, because beaver home is a dam. So I just say, gosh, beaver home it. Like, whatever works, man.
Sure, why not?
At the end of the day, the sentiment's the same, so who the fuck cares? But sure.
Is that what you replied to her?
Yeah, pretty much. And I fucking tossed a cigarette on the ground and took a swig of Jack.
And told her to finish her shot glass.
Listen, kid, life is pain.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is pretty much the impetus behind Sweet Tooth. Like, listen, kid, life is pain.
Absolutely. That is a good segue.
I wasn't going to comment on it, but yes, it was. Wait, do I have anything else? No, I think that's all I had in my thing. We already talked about Batman going down on Catwoman.
We did. We bring up the important stuff on the show.
I thought I had something else about that. Oh, yeah. Last episode we talked about the Batman going down on Catwoman thing. It reminded me of the Bat Dong issue a few years ago. Did you ever hear about that?
That the funeral?
No, the comic book what? The funeral for the Bat Dong? What the fuck are you talking about?
I thought you said there was like when at Superman's funeral, someone was walking around with a stiffy.
No. Talking about Batman wasn't in the cards involved with Superman's funeral. Wasn't a dick involved.
I'm sorry. I have my wires crossed here. No,
Wow.
Backtrack, please. Please.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Back, when was that? 2016, 17? I can't remember. Brian Azzarello wrote a comic called Batman Damned.
Okay.
That I've actually toyed with the idea of reading it for the show because it features John Constantine.
Okay.
A pretty major role. It's all about Batman thinking he murdered the Joker. It's like a 4-issue prestige format book. And in the first issue, Batman strips naked in the Batcave and is like scanning himself to see if he has any poison in his system or whatever. And there's like a shot of him nude, but it's like you can see like the outline of his dick because it's really shadowed, and people fucking freaked out about that to the point that that's all anyone talked about for that series. And then DC scrapped that issue and republished it with like just solid shadow over his dick. So they are really sensitive about Batman and any sort of sexuality.
Well, unless it's just plain missionary on a roof, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Even then, it can't be shown. It just has to be implied.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, the fact that like you can't show his dick, he can't be eating pussy, he can't be eating the pussy's pussy.
Poor Batman.
Catwoman, get it? That was a really good joke,
I got it.
and I'm not gonna let it pass. until it is acknowledged.
Very fine innuendo, sir.
But yeah, so I read Batman Damned, and realistically, if not for the whole Dick issue, it's not even worth talking about. It's fucking boring.
Oh, too bad.
It's got a confusing, stupid ending, and it's one of those where like shit happens between issues that's like important. It's like, why didn't you do that? Like one issue, Batman just wakes up in a coffin. Like, how the fuck did he get here? And then, oh, must have got knocked out and put in a coffin. Gotta dig out of a grave now. Like, you...
When did it come out?
It was 2016, 17, something like that. I have the first issue, the original Dick version. I'm trying to see...
The original Dick version.
There's a first printing for $20. I thought it would be more than that. Because like I said, it got like pulped and they rewrote it. The hardcover of the whole series is $3.
Jeez.
Oh wait, that's bidding. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, first print for 16. Again, I kind of thought it would be worth more than that, but maybe eventually.
Someday.
Like Sweet Tooth, it was what, in like the hundreds?
Oh God, yeah. Like when you say you paid for yours, like 120 or something.
No, I paid $1 for mine, but that's how much it's worth now.
Oh.
Because I bought it on the stands when it was new.
Oh, there you go.
And that was when Vertigo was doing the whole $1 first issues.
Those were the days.
Yep. Anyway, so that's... Sorry, I'm going into my eBay profile to look at shit that's been shipped to me and hasn't arrived yet. Still waiting on that Countdown audio, graphic audio story.
So these are incoming Colby's issues.
Yeah, I guess that's an issue. I don't really have any Colby's issues today. Other than Batman Damned. Yeah, let's talk about Batman Damned.
There you go.
Get that Bat Dick.
Well, I'm glad you keep a better record of this than me, because yeah, I imagined his dick in a totally different scenario.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Propping up Superman's coffin.
I guess so. Damn. Yes, Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, back to Sweet Tooth. Talking about Sweet Tooth and Jeopard's dick. So I don't know. We didn't really have like a through line, a very consistent way we were talking about it last time. Just going through my notes, but did you hear about USA Today's controversy with Sweet Tooth?
No.
So they had an ad for Sweet Tooth that looked like a front page story. It was like USA Today, hybrids in America, and this like picture of like a fucking half kid, half animal. And naturally, people were very confused and freaking out about it. And then like at the very bottom, it said like advertisement or whatever. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Hybrid babies born across the U.S. World reacts to new generation of half human, half animal children with both awe and concern.
That's fantastic. Good looking ad.
Yeah, and it's funny because USA Today got a lot of pushback from that, like right there in small letters it says advertisement. USA Today got a lot of pushback from that because it looks like an actual USA Today article, and they were like, no, we made sure that it passed muster and that it fit our ad criteria. And then somebody pointed out that in their ad criteria, like if you go on their website to try to buy an ad, it says that ads cannot look like articles. And there's the whole thing. Like that looks like a fucking article.
That does. That does. Oh, USA Today. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think it's clever and fun.
It is.
I feel like if you were really fooled by that after more than a cursory glance, then you're a fucking idiot.
True.
Which, I mean, again, we live in America, so that shouldn't be surprising. But it's funny. Like, it reminds me of Superman and Lois did this. It may have been for USA Today also, but they did a mock Daily Planet cover when Superman and Lois started. And my friend Bear has always wanted a Daily Planet newspaper issue to like hang on his wall, like like the Man Walks on the Moon newspaper, or whatever. He always wanted a Daily Planet one. They did one for Smallville also. When the Smallville complete series came out on DVD, they had a Daily Planet cover in there. Nice. So he tracked down the Daily Planet that came out for Superman and Lois. Got it on eBay, so it's now hanging up in his office.
Perfect. There you go.
Now I'm curious if that was USA Today also.
That's a good question.
Oh, I'm not gonna. Oh, there it is. That's what it was. Because that was actually in the episode. Oh, it was the Los Angeles Times.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's good. Nice layout.
And it actually says Daily Planet, so you're not going to get confused.
Right.
Well, I take that back. There's probably plenty of people that were confused. Like, Superman's real? What the hell?
I knew it. Yeah. I remember, like, several years ago at the old newspaper I used to work for, we did an April Fool's edition.
Oh, yeah.
And for the most part, people took it in stride and thought it was funny. But yeah, we did get a couple people who were like, "That's a thing? Really?" I'm like, no, it's really not. But
You're a fucking idiot. When I lived in Bozeman, the local newspaper there is called the Bozeman Daily Chronicle, and they would do the same thing every April Fool's. They'd release an issue of the Bozeman Daily Comical.
I like that.
Yeah. They'd also put inserts from The Onion in it as well. It's fun. But anyway, yeah, so Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth was in USA Today. It's true. There's fucking hybrids out there, man. They're going to give you the plague, so you better watch out.
Exactly.
Hybrids are real. So says USA Today.
Well, that's the other thing about the show is that most of the prosthetic work is pretty good at the hybrids.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, all the hybrid babies were really cute. I mean, if I ever have a child via, natural ways, I suppose, then yeah, I wouldn't be upset if it had, like, a puppy nose and a tail. I'll stand too close to the microwave during pregnancy for that.
I'm trying to figure out how the microwave would do that. Unless I guess if you have a dog inside of it.
Again, like the stupid.
No,
theories that are out
I
there.
am not shaming what you choose to eat. Okay, I've eaten weird shit. Okay, I've been all over the world.
It's all good.
I ate the one thing that I've eaten that gives me side eye from people is I ate horse when I was in France. I was at this restaurant, this like little creperie that had a horse meat crepe. And it was called the Texan. Because Texans are known for butchering their horses and chewing them up, But it was horse meat, marinara sauce, an egg, and then like the crepe was folded up, and then there was some like greens on top of that.
Oh.
And it was really good. And I mean, it's funny because whenever I tell people that here, usually it's like, oh, that's interesting. Or like, fuck, it's a horse. Blah. I'm like, yeah, but we live in America where we have this weird romanticized idea of taming the West on our noble steeds.
Right.
But over there, it's just another fucking animal. Like, it's 4 legs and fur, hack it up and let's eat it.
And if you were hungry enough, you would.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, when I ordered that, I was with an ex-girlfriend and a few friends. And the crepe comes and I was like, and one of the friends was like, you gotta say it. I was like, say what? She's like, I'm hungry enough to eat a... I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
True. Very applicable. So I gotta ask, I hear that it tastes like steak. Does it?
Yeah, it's like beef. I mean, it's just a red meat, but it's stringier, a little tougher, a little more more muscle.
Okay.
Not very marbled. But yeah, it was fine. It was good. I'd eat it again.
Oh, speaking of which, I love that part in the comic Sweet Tooth where I can't remember what Jeopard is cooking, but he's cooking some type of meat, and he asks Gus, he's like, "Do you want some of this?" And Gus is like, I ain't gonna eat a living creature," and Jeopard makes some comment like, "Good thing your daddy didn't like venison."
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, "What? Never mind."
Yeah. So going back to actual Sweet Tooth, no more horse talk. Although speaking of horse, in the show when they have the flashback of Jeopard's wife having the baby.
Yeah.
Remember? So that's staged really differently in the comic. In the comic book, that happens. Again, I should go back like last time. This is going to be really spoiler heavy and go all the way up to the end of the series. So both the show and the comic. So avert your ears if you haven't read or watched and care to be like a little virgin-eyed, doe-eyed little Bobby reading this for the first time. Anyway, so in the show, what kind of hybrid was Jeopard's kid?
Goat?
Yeah, I couldn't tell because I saw like the hooves or whatever, but I couldn't quite tell. So in the comic book, his wife's pregnant while the plague hits. They're like on the run. They're just wandering. And then they meet up with Abbott. This is all in a flashback. Meet up with Abbott, and he's like, "Oh, you can come stay with us if you want. Like, you don't have to, no biggie. But we've got beds, we've got running water and all this. You can." And Jeopard's like, immediately his cockles are up, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to do that. We're fine on our own." And he looks at his wife, and she's like run down and tired. She's like, "It would be really nice if we had a bed, And he's like, "Okay, fine." And Abbott's like, "Great!" And then he just knocks them both out. And then Jeopard wakes up in like literally a kennel, and his wife is sequestered away with all the other pregnant women that they've kidnapped. And Johnny eventually lets Jeopard out to go kill Abbott and everyone, and he finds that his wife is already dead. Yeah. She died in childbirth, and Abbott is like, "Hey, your kid died too. Like, don't know what to tell you. You don't have a kid, you don't have a wife. Sorry." And he's like, "But I'm keeping the body." And he said that if you go back and bring me some hybrids, I'll give you her remains. That's the best I can offer. So then when he comes back with Gus, Abbott just kind of tosses him a duffel bag, and you find out a couple issues later that it's the bones of his wife. He takes her back to their home and buries her underneath a tree. And then he's going to kill himself, but he doesn't. Decides to go back and rescue Gus. But when he goes back, I think I mentioned this last time, he aligns the army of animals and teams up with Lucy and Becky, gets the army of animals to attack Abbott and his forces. He's going to use the chaos of their war to sneak in and release the hybrids. So as he's doing that, he sneaks off because he knows where the hybrids are kept, and the leader of the army of animals notices that, so he chases him down with little dog boys. Right as he gets there to save them, so he finds Gus, Wendy, Bobby, and all those kids. He's helping them get away with Johnny. And there's another kid there named Buddy, who's a horse kid. And Jeopard's leading them away, and Buddy gets his arm bitten by one of the dog boys and is drug away. And Jeopard turns around just in time to see him drug back as he's about to close the door to make their escape. And as he's being drugged away, he goes, "Da, da!" And then the door slams, closed. And Jeopard stops and just stares blankly. He's like, "What did he say? What was he talking to me? What did he say?" And Lucy's like, "I don't think he said anything. It's fine. He's gone. We got it." He's like, "No, he called me something. He totally called me something. Did he call me Dad? Did he?" He's such freaking out. And look, man. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what he said because there's nothing you could have done. We'd be dead if you left the door open. Sorry, but we have to go. And so then after Jeopard finally gets his conscience clear from saving Gus, then he has that to live with.
God. All right, way to pile it on, Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about, with this just constant cycles of depression and just the world beating people down in the comic.
Right. Yeah. The idea that again things aren't resolved prettily.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And even that gets even messier as it goes. I'll keep some things unspoiled. But anyway, so I'm wondering if Buddy is going to show up in the show as well. Because you only see him when he's being born.
Right.
And in the comic, he comes back and Jeopard sees him get drug away.
Damn. Okay. Well, I'll prepare myself for that emotional beat.
So I talked a bit last time about just the whole idea of adapting characters versus plot. I like it when characters are adapted. I don't give a shit so much about the overall story being adapted. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, for comic book adaptations, you're lucky if you get 2 or 3 characters from the comic
right.
in something. Like Constantine. You get John, Chaz, Papa Midnight, kinda Gabriel.
Kind of Gabriel, yeah.
The bad guy isn't really the same. The bad guy's Lucifer, but that's not really Lucifer. It's not really the first of the fallen. It's just kind of a general Christian devil.
Yeah.
And then everyone else is new or amalgamations.
Right, yeah. Has very little to do with the comic.
And like what we talked about with Lucifer, the show Lucifer. It's Lucifer, Mazikeen, and Amenadiel.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Got Chloe Decker and Dan,
Chloe Decker,
Trixie, all these new characters.
Christ. Anyway, yeah. So you feel like Sweet Tooth did a better job of actually including all of the comic book characters.
And there's a lot of important characters in every narrative. And it's cool to see these characters adapted, but still having the story change and grow.
Right.
And, it's one of the first example of a comic book movie to me where every single minor named character was a character from the comic is Captain America, First Avenger.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first one that I can think of where it's like everyone in there is a comic character. Like the fucking Howling Commandos. You got Jacques Danier, who has like a line. That's a character from the comic. Mm-hmm. There's James Montgomery Falsworth, who is Union Jack in the comics. And he's like the British member of the Howling Commandos. And then there's, Dum Dum Dugan. And then even minor characters like Tommy Lee Jones' character.
Oh, yeah.
The fuck is his name?
I can't remember.
It's like Chester or whatever. Fucking the old guy.
Something very 1940s military.
Chester Phillips.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, that was Steve's the leader of Camp Lehigh in the comics. Even the name of the camp, Lehigh, that's from the comic. Peggy Carter. She was a really minor character in the comic to this point. Now like the MCU has turned her into a household name. And she's more in the realm of popular culture, she's more important than Sharon Carter, who is her like great niece. Whereas in the comics, Sharon Carter is way more important to Steve than her. And so it's interesting that since this movie made this character such a big role, now she's the important one.
Right.
Gabriel Jones, another one, Dr. Erskine. And there's Jim Morita, one of the Howling Commandos. There's even and Toby Jones is Arnim Zola. So like Zola's a pretty minor character in this. He's just Red Skull's little stoolie. Mm-hmm. And in any other adaptation, that would just be some random scientist.
Right. Yeah.
Call him Dr. Evil or something. But in it, like, oh no, we've got an evil Nazi scientist. Just make him Zola.
There you go.
I like it when they do that. And then it's also got probably my favorite reference of any of the MCU movies is the Human Torch reference.
Remind me.
Let me see. First, Avenger, Phineas Horton. At the Stark Expo, you see this tube and a little sign there that says Phineas Horton's Synthetic Man. Oh. And that's it's like a mannequin in it with like a red suit. That's the Golden Age Human Torch.
Oh, okay.
Who in the comics was part of the Invaders with Captain America. But in this, he's just an android that hasn't been activated yet. And, it works on two levels because Chris Evans was the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four. And now he's seeing the Golden Age Human Torch.
It's a very well handled little nod.
Yeah, exactly.
I like stuff like that.
Anyway, and I feel like Sweet Tooth does that well also. Characters like Jimmy on the train, who's just a minor character. In the comic, he's probably a little bit more important, but the fact that they threw him in there, that guy could have been named anything.
Right.
They named him Jimmy Jacobs.
It's, like you said, it for people who have never read the books, then it doesn't matter. But for people who have read the books and aren't complete
Tossers,
yeah, pedantic stands,
shitheads,
then it is just a appreciated reference to a work that they love.
Yeah. And it's just, like I said, it's fun to have the named character be in there.
Right.
Because, again, why would you make up a new character when you've got one just sitting there?
Yeah, exactly. Put them to use. Yeah. Put them to work.
I'm sure rights-wise it makes more sense to put in new characters. Because then the writer of the show gets to claim that he created this character and get the royalties or whatever. But logically, it just makes more sense to have the character from the book or comic or whatever. It's like G.I. Joe, all these fucking characters created for G.I. Joe. Back when the movie was first being kicked around in 2003 or 4 or something, there was a script written, I think it was by Skip Woods. I don't know why I remember that. Because I read a script review that was just fucking horrible.
Oh dear.
The G.I. Joe team weren't even in it. It was about this CIA team led by Action Man. There's a character that's like a toy character that's only tertiarily tied to G.I. Joe through the fucking British toy line or whatever. It doesn't matter. But the only main G.I. Joe character in it was Snake Eyes. And they only called him Snake Eyes because he wore sunglasses all the time. Oh. Yeah. And the bad guy in it, I'll never forget this, because the bad guy in it is named Cool Dude.
All right then.
And I remember reading that script review that was like, I'm not fucking kidding. The bad guy is called Cool Dude. No Cobra Commander, no Destro, none of these iconic villains, just fucking Cool Dude.
I'm puzzled as to why like you would take a property like that and be like, yeah, you know what? Cobra Commander, that's too cheesy. Let's call him Cool Dude.
Holy shit, I found that review.
Oh, did you?
This is from 2007, so I guess it's later than I thought. G.I. Joe to feature Cool Dude instead of Cobra?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they wanted Mark Wahlberg to play Action Man. The movie would feature a team up with Action Man, an international version of G.I. Joe, and could be described as a buddy flick.
Ay.
Yeah, it was written by Skip Woods. I'll be goddamned. I didn't expect to hear that the movie doesn't feature Cobra at all. Instead, the villain of the movie is a guy named Cool Dude.
No.
I don't see how a name like that could possibly make it to the final draft of the script.
Oh, it was for the best, Skip. It really was. But that didn't see the light of day.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So as much as people hate the first G.I. Joe movie from 2009, it could have been so much worse.
Well, didn't you say that somewhere out there exists the actual cut that is much, much better?
No, that's different. So the G.I. Joe movie in 2009, it gets a lot of hate, but it's fine to me. I mean, it's a toy line, you know? This is a franchise that was created to sell cheap plastic to kids.
Exactly.
So people bitch about the movie, it's like a soulless adaptation. Like, guess what? This was soulless from the beginning.
Right.
This was designed to be soulless. The fact that the comic book was good is a fluke.
Exactly. Like, go back and watch
Yeah.
the cartoons. You will not feel
Yeah.
the same way about them.
Exactly. The cartoon's goofy and dumb, and the toys were, they were cool toys. But regardless, they're just sold to make money to impressionable kids.
Right.
So, and the movie has Cobra, it has G.I. Joe, Destro's the villain, Baroness is in it. It's got Duke, Ripcord, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, like main characters from the franchise. It features the pit, which is where they live. So, it's got the things that make it G.I. Joe. So, whether or not it's a great movie, I don't give a shit. It's fun, it's action-y, great.
Right.
And then the sequel, G.I. Joe Retaliation, that one, there's two cuts of it. There's, the original movie, which is fine, again, dumb fun. And then there's what's called the extended action cut. I don't know why they can't just call it a director's cut, but whatever. And that version is way better. It significantly improves the narrative, makes it flow better. I think it elevates it to more than just a dumb action flick. It's still pretty dumb because it's G.I. Joe, It's
Right.
soldiers and ninjas and all that, but it's after watching that version, I can't even watch the original because it's hacked to shit. The way, the pacing is just terrible in the original cut.
Oh dear.
And the pacing works so much better in the extended action cut.
Okay.
And that movie has a really, really cool fight scene with ninjas on the side of a cliff. And
I need to watch that version.
yeah, it's really good. John Chu directed it before he got super fucking famous with Crazy Rich Asians.
That certainly, that didn't hurt his career at all.
I think he did In the Heights too. That just came out.
Did he?
Did he direct that?
I don't know.
John M. Chu. He did have a stumble in there, though. He directed Gem and the Holograms.
Oh, poor guy. Yeah, well, you can't win them all.
Yeah. God bless him. He did his best, though. Yeah, he did In the Heights.
Okay.
This is Now You See Me Too. Yikes. I think that made money, though. But yeah, Gem and the Holograms, Justin Bieber's Believe.
Again, you
Justin Bieber, Never Say Never.
sometimes you gotta take the work where it is.
2 of the Step Up movies. He's probably the most what's the word? He's probably the guy with the hand on the wheel of the Step Up franchise. He's directing it. He's
Probably.
taking it in the direction that that it goes. The Step Up cinematic universe.
Which is actually a thing, yeah. I never would have thought, but there you go. Well, okay, so that the guy does have an eye for he has an eye for movement and for, choreography, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Anyway, G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, yes.
So, welcome to G.I. Joe Voices podcast. G.I. Joking Around podcast.
You're on fire today.
I could do that podcast.
You could. You absolutely could.
So I just wanted to. So Sweet Tooth, the comic book. I'm curious the direction the show's going to go, because the first season kind of ends where, I don't know, probably like issue 10 or so of the comic ends, with Gus in captivity with the other kids. Jeopard is wounded, and it's implied that he and Amy are going to start the whole battle against the military. And so I'm really curious where it goes from here. But the comic book went for 40 issues, and again, this is we're probably about a quarter of the way through the comic at this point in the show. So I'm curious how closely it's going to follow the actual story, because after they leave the preserve, they eventually find a dam that like has electricity, and this lone guy that's working it. He's like, "Oh, you gotta be careful, because there's these savages in the woods led by this guy named Haggerty, and they'll kill you. Just come stay with me." So they stayed there for a while, but Jeopard and Sing and Gus say that they still need to move forward to Alaska. In the show, Gus wants to go to Alaska to find his mom.
Yeah.
They discover that she's in Alaska. Actually, I don't remember if Gus knows that yet.
He doesn't. No.
Okay. But in this, it's actually to find out the origin of hybrids. That's why they're trying to go there. They've discovered that that's where hybrids came from. There's also a 3-issue story that's a flashback to the year 1911.
Oh.
1910, I can't remember. That shows kind of where the hybrids came from and why they are, and like the link that they have to mythology and all this.
Oh, okay. I missed that entirely.
It's interesting. It's probably issue 25 or so.
Okay.
And then like the conclusion happens in Alaska. And then the last issue 40, flashes forward, I think it's like 10 or 15 years. It shows Gus as an adult with his own kids. It shows that hybrids have this new society, and the remnants of humanity are still fighting them, but they're like, humanity's almost gone by this point. And then there's some like arguments as to what they should do, and then it kind of flashes forward again to Gus when he's an old man, telling his stories to his grandkids, and like their community is now huge. Mm-hmm. A nice like capped off ending, because like in issue 40, after the war is done and their past is behind them, Gus said that, like, then the hardest part came when we realized, like, hey, we don't have to fight anymore. Like, so what do we do? It's like their entire lives were just fighting for survival against a species that hates them just for existing. And he's like, then we just decided, and like, I guess we got to start living now. So they created a society where they can live peacefully, and they embraced more hybrids, and by the end they let humans live with them too, and finally had this like state of peace. And that's the end of Sweet Tooth. But then there's a one-off story in a Vertigo Quarterly. Heard of Vertigo Quarterly?
I think you've mentioned it before. But...
It was like 4 issues of short stories. And it's this weird title. It was called Vertigo Quarterly CMYK.
CMYK.
And each one was a color. So it was C for cyan, M for magenta, Y for yellow, and K for black.
Okay.
Because K, black, duh.
Duh, of course.
It's like black.
Good lord.
Yeah. Anyway, the Sweet Tooth story is called Sweet Tooth Black. So it's in the last issue. And it's only like 6 or 7 issues, and it's 6 or 7 pages. And it's a flashback to Gus when he's still living with his dad. And it's just Gus and his dad looking up at the sky, at all the stars, talking about, and his dad's like, "Oh, it's fucking God looking at you, boy! You can't leave the farm, fucking God staring at you!" And then the next day, Gus goes to like the fence line that he's not allowed to cross, and he sees a little skunk kid there with his leg in a trap. And the kid's like, "You gotta help me. My parents kicked me out. Like, please, you gotta help me. Just grab a stick and stuff it in here, and I can get out, and then I can be on my way." And Gus is like, "No, I can't cross the line." He's like, "Please, just help me right now. Like, the guy's after me. It'll only take a second. You'll never see me again." And Gus is like, and then you see the army guys roll up on the kid, and Gus just bolts back home. And Gus is like, "Oh, there was a little boy out there. Like, it was like me." And his dad's like, "No, you did good, boy. You did good. You didn't get seen. That's fine. That's fine." So then that night they lay up and look at the stars, but the stars aren't out. It's just a black sky. Oh. The end.
Okay.
Yeah, so then that after Sweet Tooth concluded, then there was that one story just of Gus's past. But then November of this last year, 2020, there was a new miniseries called Sweet Tooth: The Return, again by Lemire, doing the art and writing and everything. And I had no idea what this was, but I bought all the issues when they came out, and now that I've finished reading the entire series, I started reading those. So the first page of the first issue is 300 years later. It's like, oh, fuck, okay, so it's like a serious sequel. Like, it's a couple generations. Like, and it starts with this little kid who looks exactly like Gus, living on this little farm and little hut in the grass, but his like internal monologue is different. He's like, yeah, Daddy says I should always go out and play because I'm a good boy and I need to experience nature and all this, but I can't go too far. And it shows him go up to like the same kind of fence line, and these two robots pop down. And they're like, go back home. And he's like, okay. And he's walking back, and it shows that the sky is just a ceiling. It's this like giant ceiling, like stretching out, for miles. So Gus is living in some weird, if it isn't even Gus, I can't remember if they call him that or not, living in some weird underground city 300 years in the future, and with robots watching him. And then he has dreams where he sees a guy that looks like Jeopard. And then that issue ends, because I've only read the first issue, ends with him escaping. He says that he's been building a fort in the woods, but he's actually been building a raft. And he breaks through the robots and finds this underground like cave river. He throws his raft on, starts rowing, gets to another shore, climbs over the shore, and there's a whole society. Like a walled-off society with those same robots. And he doesn't know, So clearly he's not alone like he thought he was.
Right.
And then he runs down a hallway and slams into a guy and falls back and looks up, and it's a guy that looks like Jeopard. and he's like, who are you? And the guy's like, you know who I am. And he goes, Jeopard? And then it ends.
What the hell?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh man, to be continued. Yeah. Okay. There's more adventure to be had yet.
So who knows if we'll ever get that far into the series, but I would be very curious to see what this world of Sweet Tooth, the TV series world of Sweet Tooth, looks like in 300 years.
Right, no kidding. Well, have they even set a release date for season 2?
No, I don't think they've announced season 2, but it's doing well, so I assume it will get a season 2. It's not a Jupiter's Legacy situation, canned after one season. Apparently some of the reality of why that series got canned has been coming out. Like, that cost $250 million.
Really?
Jupiter's Legacy, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think it cost more than Falcon and Winter Soldier. That looked significantly better than this.
Yeah. I didn't even finish it because I got, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 episodes in, and I was like, I just really don't care. And I feel like I have better things to do.
I thought it was fine, but it drug, and too many flashbacks.
Oh, boy.
I don't give a shit about how these guys got their powers.
Right.
Just show me that they got them. And apparently none of that's in the comic.
Oh, really?
From what I read, the flashbacks of them getting their powers happens over the course of like 3 pages. And that's over multiple issues. So it's all about like the today's heroes and how they're dealing with being legacy of the past. And then that whole twist. Oh yeah, you haven't finished it.
Not yet.
No. Are you ever gonna?
No.
Okay. Well, it's revealed that like the secret villain is the main character's brother. And that he's been manipulating things and tries to, like, apparently in the comic that comes early, and he like kills, what's his name, Samaritan? No.
Close.
Whatever it is.
Let's call him Sam.
he kills the good guy, like he kills the hero, like early on.
Right.
And so then it's all about the next generation trying to fight back against him, maybe? I don't know. But that literally doesn't, that reveal happens at the last second of the TV series.
Oh. And it might just stay there.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, they're still moving forward with Mark Millar's Super Crooks series, and they're going to tie that in with this, I guess. I don't know. They're not related in the comics, but now they are.
Just, they're trying to find a way to salvage, possibly.
I read somebody comment that, like, Netflix is having that realization, like, they bought Miller World or whatever, did this multi-million-dollar partnership with Mark Millar, and then this came out, and they were like, fuck, this isn't going to be the MCU, is it? Like, this isn't going to be like the Marvel Cinematic Universe like we thought it was going to be. When we bought this guy's entire back catalog, only to find out how unadaptable it all is.
Whoops. Well, mistakes are made sometimes.
Yeah, what's a few $100 million between friends?
Exactly. Yay. Speaking of flashbacks, these aren't flashbacks, but it ties into something else that you've said in the past irritates you at times in shows and movies. What do you think of the narration?
I don't mind it. It's like, towards the beginning, I'm like, fucking hell. Like, it's just platitudes, like, sometimes what you want to happen isn't what happens, That could be a line from the show. I don't know.
Maybe it is, yeah.
Sometimes you meet someone that you think is an enemy, and they become your friend. And that's all it is. Like, it's James Brolin just... probably just lounging on a recliner, like looking at the lines. Like, every once in a while, you see a mongoose, but it turns out it's a cobra.
Like they're just handing him fortune cookies
exactly,
and he's cracking them open.
Yeah, you can't get to the end of the tunnel until you're stuck in the darkness. I'm literally just coming up with these off the top of my head.
And it would work. It would work.
Only when you're in the sunshine do you realize how dark the night is.
Oh, yeah. There could be an entire Twitter account just dedicated to, those.
Have you ever tripped and stubbed your toe? That's it.
That's it. Oh, live, laugh, love.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, boy.
And then they said, that man doesn't eat pussy.
At which point everyone watching the show goes, what? Oh, that would get your attention quick.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's not great, but I don't really mind it. Yeah. It actually reminds me a lot of the narration in the last issue. Because the book has narration that kind of shifts as it goes. Like, sometimes it's Dr. Singh's journal. Sometimes it's just what the characters are thinking. But in the last issue, there's this weird, almost storybook narration that's like talking about, like, and then the boy became a man, and he led his people to freedom. He said that if you're ever going on a journey, you got to make sure your backpack's full or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're sleeping under the stars, it helps to have a sleeping bag.
Follow for more useful life advice. It kind of brings up a point that I was listening to another comic book podcast called In Between the Gutters. Albert and Drew, those were the hosts. Guys, I'm sorry if I mix you up on this, but they have an episode that's all about Sweet Tooth.
Oh, yeah?
And I think it was Albert who said one of the appealing things about Jeff Lemire's books is that he is economical in his prose. Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate that about his writing. He has this efficacy when it comes to his narration where he is just content to show you what's going on, and then you just kind of have to draw your own conclusions about the characters and their backstory and maybe how they got to this point before he just dives right in and tells you.
Yeah. I follow Between the Gutters. I did not realize that.
Oh, yes.
And follow us.
They do.
Good job, Between the Gutters. You got good taste.
Very nice guys.
I just saw some Snyder Cut shit, so I was wondering if I was going to have to take that back.
We're scoping your page, guys.
Anyway. But yeah, Lemire isn't very wordy in terms of his narration. I like one of the reasons that one of the reasons that Sweet Tooth is such a quick read. That's my sequel series, Quick Read.
There you go.
One of the reasons that Sweet Tooth is such a quick read is it doesn't get bogged down with narration. There's a lot of showing. Right. And just like landscapes and characters and big splash pages and all that. And because you can have somebody talk about how depressed they are, how shitty the world is, until you're blue in the face, but it's much more impactful to show a fucking sad deer boy face with a gray background world.
Right.
Like, look at that. The cover of issue 1 just is like, God damn, like, what happened to that kid? Why is he so sad?
Yeah, he's like 9 years old, but he looks like he's 40, you know?
He's got a candy bar. He looks like he should be happy.
Indeed. That's what I appreciate about it, too. I mean, if you go back and listen to our episode about Lemire's other graphic novel, The Nobody, there are things about that novel that I wasn't too hot on, but at the same time, he uses his pictures and his narrative in a way that propels you forward because you want to know what's going on, as opposed to here's this long wall of text, or here are these flashbacks, or here's this continual inner monologue that takes you through it because you're too stupid to piece together what's going on.
Well, like I said, the Richard, Gus's dad, his whole backstory is told without dialogue.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
And it's just as impactful as if they were talking. Like, it's not confusing or anything.
Very straight across, to the point.
So, I would say, I would give both the show and the comic a vertigo.
I would agree. Absolutely.
And I hesitate to say which one I like better, because obviously you can't have the show without the book. My only complaints about the book is that it gets a little, I don't know, it's a well-worn road, you know?
Yes, yeah.
Like, we've seen depressing comic book, post-apocalyptic things before. I mean, fuck, The Walking Dead had been going for like 6 years by the time this came out.
You're right.
So,
right.
this isn't anything new. But it's a really unique world. And it's interesting. I mean, this won an Eisner, for God's sake. So it's esteemed. It's good.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you won't regret reading it.
Yeah. But I like how different the show makes it. Because I've seen bright dystopia. You know, like earlier you mentioned Mad Max or Fury Road.
Yeah.
Like I've seen bright dystopia before, because Fury Road's about the brightest movie you can get, just visually. Mm-hmm. But I've not seen dystopia be so hopeful.
Yes. And like you said, it's able to do it in a way that it feels hopeful, but at the same time, it doesn't feel condescending.
Yeah, it's not condescending or cheesy.
Yeah.
It's still, the stakes are still high. It's still life or death, and it's still, there's still some moral ambiguity in there. But the I don't know, the end game seems more attainable, I guess. Like in the comic, I'm just like, I never once thought that anyone would succeed in the comic.
No.
I thought it was just going to be watching all of these characters die slowly over the next 40 issues. Right. So the fact that it does have like an epilogue that's a happy ending was shocking to me.
Exactly. And I mean, and going back to the comic, like you were talking about the scene where Jeopard goes in and he kills that brothel's pimp. Uh-huh. And if this were like a different comic book or narrative, then there would be like, oh, thank you for saving us. Thank you so much. And I think it is Lucy who basically asks like, well, okay, now what?
And what do we do?
Yeah. It's like, we're just as fine here as we are anywhere else. Yeah. And that is throughout the entire book. So I guess on that note, I would say like, watch the show with your kids, because I think it's totally suitable for children. But if you're like, oh, this is such good YA, I will get this for my preteen. It's like, no. Get it for you. Yeah, sure. And then when your child comes of age, they can read it for themselves.
Yeah. Also, in the comic, I don't know if I should spoil that or not. It's just the pairings of the characters in the end.
Who ends up with who?
Well, so Gus ends up with Wendy, and they have some kids. And there's a scene where Bobby says something to him, like, he brings up Becky. And then there's this flashback of, like, a quick shot of Gus and Becky kissing, and then another quick shot of Gus holding her body as she's dying of the plague. And then cuts back to Gus, and he's like, no, they're never going to know about her. Like, I'm not going to tell them about her. And then Bobby says something like, well, it's just too bad that, she was with us. And he's like, yeah, and we will remember her, and that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Makes you wonder. Yeah, much like you alluded to, much higher stakes.
And that's another thing in the comic versus the show. In the show, they're always like, we can't get the plague, like, don't go near the flowers, they'll give you the plague. In the comic, everyone has it.
Yeah.
All the humans have it. It's just a matter of time when it kills you.
Exactly.
So, like, you're either going to die of the plague or you're going to die of a bullet or whatever.
Right.
And the only people that are immune to it are the hybrids.
Yeah, that's a good point to make.
And in the show, they don't even know that, because when Gus falls in the flowers, I'm like, oh my god, he's got it!
Right.
And then they put on the gear to go rescue him or whatever. But yeah, anyway, so that was an interesting difference to me.
Oh.
It goes back to the whole thing about, like, there's some hope.
Right, yeah.
There's some hope that humanity can survive. Whereas in the comic, it's just a question of how slowly they're going to die off.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's in that same scene around the fire in the comic with Jeopard and Gus, where Jeopard says something along those lines of, like, we all have it.
I think they're both Vertigo. They're both good.
Here. You won't regret watching or reading.
But yeah, give it a watch. It's an easy, and that's another thing. It's like 8 episodes, but it feels like it went really quick. Like, I did not have any issue watching any of these.
Right.
Like Jupiter's Legacy, where it's like, fucking one more, come on.
You can do it.
Those like Jupiter's Legacy, each episode felt like a movie. It felt like a 2-hour fucking, and not much happened.
Really
Whereas
movie.
in these, when an episode would end, it'd be like, come on, fucking go to the next one.
Yes.
Don't leave it there.
It's a binge-worthy show.
Yeah.
Like, when you got to the end, were you like, oh, it's the end of season 1 already?
Yeah, I mean, kinda. It was a natural ending.
Oh, it was. But I was just like, oh, we have to wait for season 2 now.
Where's Barbie?
I want to keep watching. Yeah, good stuff.
So yeah, I think next time let's go back to some gaming. Let's do Books of Magic.
All right, then.
Since we've already done, this is our second Lemire episode.
It is. Well, not a bad way to circle around. He's very relevant still.
Yeah, he's like, well, probably more now than he was then, because
Exactly.
now everyone's talking about him, not just comic nerds. Fucking comic nerds.
Yeah, exactly. Dorks. Yep.
So anyway, that's the end of the show. Like and subscribe. Listen. Tell your friends. Tell your mom. Tell your dad. Tell that one uncle. The weird one.
We know you guys get together with other people and talk about the podcast you're listening, so yeah, just name drop us.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, share, subscribe, whatever. Follow us on Twitter at Vertigo Voices or Instagram Vertigo Voices. Or email us at vertigovoices@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone who commented. Continue to comment. I like reading comments. It makes me feel important.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, and I guess that's it. We don't have anything else. What are we gonna do after
Books of Magic?
Books of Magic? Yeah.
I just, not to steal your thunder, but I recently got a few issues myself, and I picked up 10 copies of Tank Girl.
Oh yeah.
So I'm waiting for the day when we do Tank Girl.
I don't have any Tank Girl, so I would need to borrow yours.
I would gladly share them with you.
All right. Well then, we'll do Tank Girl one of these days, but just the Vertigo stuff.
Just the Vertigo stuff, yes. All the stuff I picked up was on Titan Press, so it doesn't apply. But I got the Vertigo goods too.
It was what, the Odyssey and something else?
Yeah, the Odyssey and what is it? The introducing Tank Girl or the complete history of Tank Girl or something like that.
Odyssey 2. More Odyssey. 2 Odyssey, 2 Furious. 2 Tank, 2 Girl.
Actually, there is one book called One Tank, Two Girls, so you're close.
Oh, gross. That took my pure funny joke and made it gross.
So yeah, subscribe for more content.
All right. To fucking give fill my little neti pot with bleach and wipe the last few seconds from my from my brain.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, and now you're all welcome for that lovely mental image.
We do our best here.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.